All right, we got James. He's 18 years old. He just graduated from high school and he's gonna go to college. What are we gonna do for him? If you don't know who I am, I'm Nate and I'm a life coach. I help people improve their lives and make better decisions on their future or repair their lives from things that they've gone bad. So if you're interested in that, make sure you click the link and sign up and let's get you started with life coaching. So, like I said, we got James, he's 18, he just graduated high school and he's going to college, right? So we're gonna do the scenario that he's basically going to ECU, or he could go to the local community college, right? So, that being said, ECU's tuition is $7,593 a year. Or might be per semester. Anyway, one of those. $7,593. The biggest thing when going to college is to avoid student loans like the plague. They're going to make you fill out these FAFSA forms. They're going to say you're eligible for all this money. And you're going to be like, oh, great, I can go. I can afford it. When in fact, they're basically putting you into a life of slavery, right? Because you're going to have to pay those loans back and you have no guarantee of a job after you graduate, right? I graduated in 2010. There were 4 jobs in my field when I graduated in the whole state. And I actually ended up getting one, but it was a contract job and it was very short term, very short lived, right? So, that being said, when I went into college in 2006, 2005, there were thousands of jobs everywhere, right? It didn't look like my industry could ever go down, right? Because I was going to be a chemist, right? So keep that in mind, when you're thinking about going to college. It might look good for that career right now, but what's that career going to look like 4 years from now? What does it look like if the market crashes out? What does it look like if the market's good, right? So just like computer science and tech and all that stuff is really hot right now, right? People are coming out of college making a lot of money doing that right now. What happens when they replace that technology person with AI, right? What happens to that job, that career? And what other skills would you even have, right? That kind of thing. Also, they can find people like that in other countries cheaper, just like they did for my job in chemistry, right? So keep that in mind when you're digging yourself a hole in debt for something that's not guaranteed, right? All right, so we're gonna avoid student loans like the plague. If you have to have a student loan, this is what I recommend, right? And I actually learned this from my wife's sister, Savannah. This is what she did. So shout out to Savannah. So one semester she went to be an RN, a nurse. Well, one semester she didn't have enough money to cover the tuition. So what she did was she took the student loan just enough to cover the tuition. And then over the semester, she paid the loan as she went on in the semester, as she made the money, right? So that is what I would recommend if you're actually going to take a loan, right? Whatever job you have, you take that, whatever that semester was, how much it's going to be. So if it's going to be $75.93 per semester, which I don't think it's that, hopefully it's not that high. Hopefully it's $75.93 a year. But I think it's a semester, $75.93 a semester for ECU. And you cut that loan down as much as possible that semester, right? And then that way, even if you can't pay it all off, at least you paid it down where it's not this big, huge hurdle when you get out in college, right? Because inflation has really messed everything up too. So everything costs crazy amounts of things, right? Just going there, sitting there, having clothes, having books, all that kind of stuff is going to cost more money too, right? So that being said, this guy's 18 and just graduated high school. What I would do is I would start some service-based business instead of getting a job, right? At this, with looking back at it, that's what I would have done, right? Because the truth is, when you're 18 years old and you're able-bodied, you can work and make a lot more money when you own it yourself, right? So service-based business. So we're going to either cut grass, we're going to do pressure washing, we're going to sell lemonade, we're going to sell ices, we're going to sell something, right? For my females out there that are watching, the lemonade, all that kind of stuff is still hard work, but you may want to do that instead. But if you want to do the pressure washing, the lawn care, obviously that's still a good option for you as well, right? But the reason you do the service-based business, right? So what was my biggest problem in college? So I worked at a gas station in college, right? So Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, I worked, right? So I would work from 1 o'clock to close, so 11 o'clock, 11:30 to 1 to 11. So it's 10 hours on Friday night. And I'd work a double on Saturday, and I'd work a single on Sunday, right? Usually try to do morning shift on Sunday and have the afternoon off, but that's a lot of hours, right? If you think about it. And I was making, at the time, I moved over from McDonald's to the gas station, right? From McDonald's to the gas station for 50 more cents. So I was making $7.50, where I was making $7 at McDonald's, right? So $7.50, and I was trying to get, let's see how many hours that is. 10 hours, 22 hours, so 30 hours a week, basically, right under full time at the time. So you didn't get health insurance, you didn't get any of that stuff. And I was doing that for $7.50 an hour, right? 7 times 3 is 21. So I was basically making $200 to $230 extra a week, right? Which is basically nothing, right? You go to try to pull, my tuition back in the day was $3,865, right? Less than half of, basically half of what it is now. Even then, $200 a week ain't gonna cut it. You know what I'm saying? So this is where mowing the lawn, where you can basically 10x this, right? So you can mow, say 10 yards a week from spring to fall, right, at $40, $50 a piece, and make a lot more money, right? Pressure washing, so say you can do pressure washing on Saturday, right? Just on Saturday, you go do 2 pressure washing gigs on Saturday at $500 a piece. That's $1,000 a week, right? Now, obviously, you got to get those gigs, right? And that word of mouth is very big there. But this is what I would do for employment, right? Especially if you're going for business or, something like that. Honestly, in these pressure washing gigs or lawn mowing or something like that, the service-based businesses can get you more ahead than actually the college degree can. Obviously, if you want to do something different with your life, that's understandable, right? Right now, while everybody else is outside sweating to death, I'm inside in a nice cool air condition. When everybody's freezing in the wintertime, I'm inside in the heat, right? So, and that's one of the benefits of going to college, right? But you do have this big hurdle with student loans, right? And that's basically what this video is really about, is about trying to avoid student loans like the plague, right? Because the average person's getting out of student loans, out of college with over 40,000 in student loans now, 40, 50,000, right? I have almost 300,000 in student loans, right? And, luckily I work for a municipality, and, in a couple of years they'll be forgiven, but that's not the point. It's still having to make those payments. My payment is $1,000 a month, right? So say you come out and you're making the average salary $60,000. That's $12,000 off that $60,000 automatic. It's an automatic tax to the student loans, right? So instead of making 60, you're really making 48. And that's from your bring home pay. It's not from your gross pay, right? So they don't count, like, they don't say, hey, if you pay your student loans, you don't have to owe taxes on that money. No, you still owe the taxes on the money that you're making, right? So basically the idea is to get out for as little as possible. So if that means you go to community college first, pay $1,216 a semester instead, paying $75.93, it's a lot smarter to do that, right? If you're going to actually go get a degree. If not, I'm opening this service-based business, 18 years old. Obviously, there are a lot of businesses out there, older people that need some things, but those businesses are, they're not as successful. The success rate of those businesses are really low, right? So if you were going to go do some computer thing for a business, you're going to go do advertising, marketing for a business, social media, networking, all that kind of stuff. Those businesses are low percentage success businesses, whereas lawn care and pressure washing, stuff like that is very high success businesses, right? Because people don't want to do the jobs anymore, right? And obviously, if you wanted to go get HVAC, you wanted to go get electrical, stuff like that from your community college, obviously that's going to be a lot cheaper route too. But in this particular case, this person wants to go to college, wants to get a degree. So I'm doing the scenario like that, right? But the service-based business instead of getting the job is definitely the way to go. Obviously, I've talked about on this channel about the millionaire fast lane, and how selling a product is how you get on the millionaire fast lane. So, but that's also a lower success rate, right? Because you have to have your product known. So keep that in mind. So just to summarize, if I'm 18 years old, I'm going to college, I'm avoiding student loan like the plague. If I have to get a student loan, I'm paying the student loan off as I go through the semester. And instead of getting a job, I'm opening a service-based business where I do either lawn care, pressure washing, etc., some kind of service-based business to make money instead of getting a job at like a gas station, a McDonald's, waiting tables, that kind of thing, right? Because you're not going to make money you're not going to make enough money to cover your tuition for the year on those other jobs, unfortunately. So I'm Nate. I'm your life coach. If you're looking to set up stuff like this, where you set up your life, you start this service-based business. If you're not going to college and trying to start a service-based business, you can hit me up in DM. Click the link, sign up for life coaching. Check out all my free stuff, right? So mindset, beliefs, habits, and success, right? So you got to change your mindset. You use affirmations. You can use my affirmations for free. They're in the link in the bio. And they're 100% free. I got a financial freedom list up there. So if you want to get the financial freedom, you can get that for free, fill that out. Also have a health and fitness guide, because obviously health is more important than anything. But I'm Nate and I'm your life coach, and I hope you got something out of this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.